Good morning and welcome back. Today is going to be another busy day. My parents are on their way to come visit. My oldest daughter took two of my boys to go work for a guy at our church. We have a ladies meeting tonight that we're going to be getting ready for. We do a monthly Bible study, and so we're going to be going to that. But we're also celebrating our pastor's wife's birthday. And this was kind of a last minute thing. Nobody realized that we were going to be having the meeting so close to her birthday. So one of the ladies said, well, why don't we celebrate at the meeting? So I'm making homemade ice cream, but it's not going well because I've never used the Cuisinart electric ice cream maker that I bought. And I didn't realize how long it takes to refreeze in between batches. And I really would like to get like 6 batches done today. But we'll see. We're going to take what's done. Anyway, we're doing that. So we've kind of been in gift mode here. First of all, I'm going to show you the gift that I made for my secret sister. On Sunday is our secret sister reveal. So we'll be telling the person who their secret sister was and finding out who ours was. So let me show you what I made for my secret sister. Sit you down here. We'll hope it stays. Is it going to stay? Maybe. Okay. So this quilt is what I have made for her. I put ribbon around 3 of the sides, or not ribbon, lace edging around 3 of the sides. I ran out and couldn't do the 4th side, so we're just going to call that the top. But this used up almost all of the rest of my red fabrics. So we're going to be moving on to something else, except that I think I still want to make some pillow shams or pillowcases with the last little bit for us. I didn't measure this for a specific bed size. It just was what it came out to be with the fabric squares that I'd already cut. But I think it'll fit like on the top of a queen size bed or on the back of a couch or whatever. So the inside, I never use batting because it's expensive. It's a blanket that was given to us. It had a couple little holes in it, but that's on the inside. And then the outside is just fabric. And I didn't have enough to do it all in one piece. So it's got a seam down the center. But I think that's fine. It doesn't affect the ability to be used. So that is that gift. And it didn't cost me anything, but it did definitely cost me my time. Although since the quilt squares were already cut out, it really didn't take that long. It was a couple of days. So that's ready for Sunday. And then, like I said, we're celebrating our pastor's wife's birthday, and another lady at our church had a birthday this week, and so I wanted to make something for them. But like I said, it's been a very busy week, and it's a very busy day, so this is what I came up with. First of all, I'm going to make them each a small beeswax candle, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And then I'm also going to make them brownie mix in a jar, and I will leave the link to that recipe, and it has a free printable tag for it. I'll leave that in the description, but let me show you this. Okay, so this is the recipe. Looks pretty easy. Everything I already have here. I'm just going to use chocolate chips for the chocolate chunks. And then these are the tags. So we've got that. And then this was given to me, but I don't really need it. So I think I'm going to put 1 or 2 of these tied to each of the jars of brownie mix. Let's get started. So these are the jars that I'm going to use for the candles. I just went down to the root cellar and found 2 that matched. And this one has a chip out of it, so it's a good use for it. I have this pot and then a bowl on top to use as a double boiler. And this is my beeswax. This one, I think it's been melted already, which will be fine for other things, but for a gift, I will probably use these yellow beeswax, and then these are the pastilles. I don't know what makes the difference between white and yellow, but maybe I will use these and then add enough of the yellow. I think the white is harder, but I could be wrong. So maybe we'll mix that. And then my mom had given me this wicking a long time ago. And usually for candles like this, you would use one that has a base in it that would hold it. But I don't have that, so I'm going to have to wrap it around a pencil and hope that it holds. So I put those in there and turned on the heat. It hasn't started melting yet, but that bag, when it was full, was 2 ounces. Each of these are an ounce, so I'm thinking that's about equal parts, but we'll see how far that gets us. I probably should have, figured out a way to figure out how much would go in each of these, but I don't know. I mean, they hold 4 ounces, but that's a liquid measure, and these are by weight, so we'll see how that goes. I have the pencils with the wick wrapped around it, and I just did one with each of the ends so that I can still have one big piece in the middle. When I cut it off, they're not going to be perfectly in the center, but as I pour it, I'm going to try to keep it as centered as possible. I can hear the water in there starting to boil, so I'm just going to turn this down a little bit and wait for that to melt. Luckily, beeswax is food safe, so I can just use my regular dishes for that. The beeswax is starting to melt, and you can see the liquid around it. And then I got out 2 bowls for the brownie mix, and all the ingredients are in there. So each one is a cup of sugar, a half a cup of flour, a third of a cup of cocoa, a quarter of a teaspoon of baking powder, and a quarter teaspoon of salt. And now I'm just going to mix those up and put them into the jars, shake them down a little bit, and then put the chocolate chips on top. Beeswax is almost melted. My mixes are done, and I just have some reused canning lids that I just washed and dried. I'm going to put those on there. It's all but melted, and I've got my tags ready. I didn't have any craft paper that was the right size to print directly on it, so I just printed it on regular white paper and then glued it onto the brown cardstock and then just cut out a border. So when this dries, then I will poke a hole in it to hang from the jars of the brownie mix. Distance student rate for just her driver while she's gone.
Yeah, it was having trouble today, and I'm not quite sure why. Like, did you press shift?
I don't know exactly.
Either the fuel injector or the motor.
Yeah,
motor. The fuel injector or the motor. I need to spend the $55 to buy the fuel injector. That way we can roll that out before I have to just.
So
Hopefully,
what you do is you take the engine apart, you clean each piece, you put it back together.
So now I'm assembling these jars, and I ended up taping the utensils together and then taping them to the side of the jar to hold them still, and then just double wrapping the ribbon around it and tying it, and then adding the little tag and tying that on again. So those are done, and I'm melting more wax because that's how much I got done in the first batch. And I just cut out 2 little tags and wrote what they were, and I'll tie those around the candles when they're done. I'm tying the labels on with this ribbon that we got at Always for $1, and it's a really big spool. I think it said like 100 yards. The second one is poured, and I got the dishes clean. It did take a little bit of scraping and scrubbing to get all the beeswax off that bowl, but it came clean. So I'm just waiting for that to finish getting hard, and then I'll cut the wick off there. And then I've got the gift bags ready over here with just a note on the back, and the front is flowers. So I'll put them in there and just tape it to the top like that. While I was doing it, I decided to make some bath bombs and a room spray for another lady in our church who just had a birthday. And hopefully this won't bother her too much because she's pregnant. But to put the water and the witch hazel and stuff into the little brown glass jar or bottle, I'm using the top off of one of these condiment bottles because they're small enough to fit in there. And then I'm going to do 3 ounces of distilled water, an ounce of witch hazel, and then some essential oils for that. Okay, my parents were here. They have left. We had lunch. We had grilled cheese and tomato soup. I think my gifts are just about done. I mixed up the room spray. I made the bath bombs. They're sitting there. I'm going to wrap them up, and I'll show you that in a second. The ice cream, I ended up just chilling my mixer bowl and putting the mixture in there and whipping it for like 15 minutes, and then I put it in the freezer, and I think it's going to be fine. It tastes like ice cream. The texture may not be exactly right. It'll be fine. And then I also have to bring a soup to this meeting, so I'm bringing chicken tortilla soup. I cooked the chicken yesterday. I cooked part of the beans last night, and I cooked the rest of the beans this morning, so they're ready. And I need to leave here in 3 hours. So I've got a little bit of downtime, but I'm going to go ahead, I think, and make the soup. And then I'll put some of it in the fridge for another time, and I'll fill my Instant Pot to take with me because it seals well, and I can just plug it in when we get there. I'll show you. So here is the last gift. Here's the room spray that I made. I had said 3 ounces of water and an ounce of witch hazel, but it actually ended up being half of that because this is only a 2-ounce bottle, I think, or something. It's a smaller bottle. And then I made the bath bombs, and they're orange, and so the package will have that. Okay, so the room spray, the bath bombs, I'm just going to put them in these little cups that we had in the garage with a piece of parchment. Nest them in there and then wrap them all up together. And then I had this that I bought and never used, so I'm going to give that to her as well. Starting the soup, the recipe calls for a tablespoon of oil, a medium onion, and 1 medium jalapeno seeded. I'm doing 3 times the recipe, but I did 2 whole onions and some frozen jalapenos. But then I'm also putting in some frozen bell peppers. Excuse me. Because if I don't, every time a kid sees a jalapeno, they're going to realize it's a jalapeno and they'll try to pick it out, even though once it's all cooked, it's not really any hotter than anything else. So I add green bell peppers too, and then they don't know which one they're getting, and it's just peppers and onions. So I'm going to saute this until the onions are translucent and the peppers have started to cook, and then we'll move on to the next step. So then if you're making a single batch, you would add 3 cloves of garlic and a can of rotel, a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of paprika, and 3 cups of chicken broth. So I have added triple all of that. I'm going to wait for it to come to a boil. While I'm waiting for that, I wanted to mention something exciting that is happening for us tomorrow. We are going to get a new mattress. That might not be exciting for everybody, but it's very exciting for us. We're getting 4 of the kids' mattresses because they just needed replaced. And then my husband and I are getting a new mattress and box spring, and we have never owned a new mattress. We've always had hand-me-downs, which is fine, but we're getting older and we are more sore than we ever have been, and so we were needing something that was better because we're waking up in pain a lot of the time, You can see a dip in our bed, not so much whenever it's like just made, but it's definitely there, and we both kind of just rolled in the middle. So we went with a place in Pennsylvania that my parents have used, and they are a factory direct place. So we called and told them what we wanted. For the kids, we just got a basic mattress, thicker than the ones that we have gotten in the past, but they were $129, which I didn't think was bad. And then for ours, my parents have in their guest bedroom one of the mattresses from this place, and so we were able to order the same one that they have because I've slept on it, I know I like it. So that was $650 for the mattress and box spring together, which again, I have seen them way more expensive. This place is really easy to deal with, and we can take our old mattresses with us in the morning and they will dispose of them for free, so we don't have to pay to dispose of them, and then we'll just bring the new ones home. So that is what we're doing tomorrow. I was going to do a video on how we are using our income tax refund because we go into income tax refund time with a plan. It is not free money, it is not extra money, it meets needs that we couldn't meet otherwise throughout the year. So this is our first big purchase of the year. It is desperately needed, and I'm very excited. So now we're mixing milk with masa flour, and the recipe for a single batch is 1 1/3 cups of milk and 1/3 of a cup of the corn flour. And so I'm tripling that, and whenever the pot comes to a boil, then we're going to pour this in there and mix it up and let it thicken before we add the last ingredients. That is thickening with the milk and flour. It's just the fat that comes to the top that gives it that speckly appearance. And then we're going to add in everything else here in a minute. The recipe calls to cook 1 1/4 pounds of chicken and shred it. This is probably 2 pounds of cooked shredded chicken, but I always go lighter on the chicken, and then it calls for 1 can each of, I think, hold on, let me look. Does it call for pinto and black beans? And I'm using Great Northern beans and black beans, so it calls for a can of each of those, and then I think a cup of frozen corn. This is a family size can of corn, and a pound of Great Northern beans and a pound of black beans cooked from dry. So we're going to add all of that in here in a minute, and then whenever we're ready to serve it, or close to ready to serve it, you're supposed to add 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream and 1/4 cup of sour cream. I usually just throw in a can of evaporated milk because I very rarely have heavy cream on hand, and then some of the sour cream stirred together, and then we serve it topped with sour cream and shredded cheese. Everything is added in, and this pot is huge. It'll hold 2 gallons, so we've got plenty for tonight to take with me, and then also to have Sunday after church. So we've got 1 meal prepped and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and transfer some of this over and let the rest of it cool, and then I can put it in the fridge and have it ready for next time. Alright guys, I'm going to end the video here. I'm getting really tired. I have 2 hours till I need to leave, so I'm going to go ahead and try to wrap up this video and edit it and get it out to you, and I'm going to just relax for a little bit. Well, I have 2 loads of laundry to do and my Bible reading before we go, but that's going to be it for today. Thanks so much for coming along, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.